Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing tonight? Okay, it has been a crazy night, let me just tell you. First of all, I was on my way here, and I was driving down the street, and this guy starts walking in the middle of the street, and he's like, hey, 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 hey. And I was like, what is going on? Like, this is kind of scary. And then I was coming over here, and I was gonna get a fountain Coke before at McDonald's. I'm at McDonald's right now, I don't know if you can see, but I was gonna get a fountain Coke before I started my vlog tonight. But I thought I would just bring you guys along for the adventure. And I am turning off this major street. I'm getting ready to like turn into McDonald's. And these 4 girls come bolting out of McDonald's, okay, like 2 and 2. And they come with all this food, and they come bolting out of McDonald's and just run across. They literally did not stop. There was like traffic coming, and they just kept on running. And me and like all these other cars were just like, what just happened? It was kind of scary. So anyway, I looked over. Where is my cash in here? I know I had cash in here. Oh, hell's bells. I know I had like several dollars in here. Oh, here it is. I looked over, and like all of these people that like worked at, like the guy at the window was like looking out the window, and like there was a person on like a thing, you know, a phone and like a headset, and she was like, she came running outside, and I was like, oh my God, what did they steal from McDonald's? How do you steal food from McDonald's? I mean, because you pay for it first, right? Like, so how do you steal food? I don't understand. Did they steal somebody else's food or something? Like, that's crazy. But we are going to ask. So I'm going to go through here and get a Diet Coke. And I'm going to find out the mysteries and the adventures of the world of what's going on. It's just been like a crazy night. And it's not a full moon. You know, I believe in that full moon stuff. Do you believe in the full moon stuff? People say like, people are acting crazy because it's a full moon.
How may I help you?
Can I get a large Diet Coke, please?
Is that off you?
Yep.
So I know.
Let me put on my lip gloss. We've had a good day today. I'm kind of distracted because I want to find out what happened. I wonder if they'll tell me. You know I'm always so chatty. If you watch my review channel, you know I'm always so chatty with the people that... We're gonna ask each person and see if they tell us. But yeah, I got up today. We went to brunch. We actually went to brunch a little bit earlier today. We had a really good brunch. I had the California Dreamer. I noticed that the guy next to me, so like there's this like older couple, and they're always in there. By the time that we get there, because we go so late for brunch, it's always like the same 6 couples. At Cafe Patashu where we go, there's like regulars that come in there every week. And I noticed that this guy next to me, it was like this older couple, they're always in there when we're there. And, but they're usually like sitting across the room from us. They were sitting right next to us today. And I noticed that he got the California Dreamer too. And I was like, oh, I wondered what they got, because they're always here every week. I was like, I wonder if they got the same things, because we get the same things every single week, you know? So I was like, I wonder if they got the same things too. And so I was sitting there, and I was like, oh, they got the California Dreamer. Here's 10. Did somebody just steal food or something? What? What is he doing to you? Huh? Did somebody just steal food and run across the street or something? You don't know? Thank you, have a good one. The guy was like standing behind him, and he was like touching his ear like this. I think there's romance happening up in the McDonald's. I'm gonna ask this one, because they were the ones that were looking up. Hey, what happened with the girls that were running across the street?
I guess I was getting a police call on him.
They were what?
I guess they came here cussing, and the manager called the police, so they ran out.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought they stole food or something. Oh, have a good one. She was so pretty. Look, they have a 3rd window now, and this window is like for, like, I guess if they bring your food, you know, like they say wait, and then they bring your food. So the girls were cussing, is what happened. That's why you don't cuss in public. My mom always taught me that. I cuss so bad. I've like really watched it on my videos lately. Like I haven't been cussing as much and stuff. You know, because you're not supposed to. But my mother always taught me, she said, you know, when you use a lot of profanity, she really did. My mom did not like profanity a lot. And so like if my mom dropped like an F-bomb, you know, like she would either do it like in a really funny situation or because she was really angry, you know? And that word she very rarely ever, hardly ever said like an F-bomb. She would say damn it and stuff like that, you know, like, but the rest of it, she just, you know, I mean, my mother was no prude, but she just didn't use a lot of profanity. And she would say, when you use a lot of profanity, people stop hearing what you're trying to tell them and they only hear how you're saying it because you cuss like a sailor, you know? She got real upset with me one time. She was like, she was like, because, you know, this is, when you go to meetings a lot in recovery, like people cuss a lot. And she was like, I think you've just been listening to a lot of these old men up in meetings because you cuss like a sailor. But my mom, the one thing she did not like was like if you took the Lord's name in vain. And because, you know, my mom was a woman of strong faith. And so if I said something, she'd be like, please, Peter, no GD or JC in this house. She would always say that. My mother, another thing that she said too, and I think she actually got this from Maya Angelou. It was either Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison said this in an interview one time, and my mom, like, she really believed this, was no negativity in the house. Like, if you were going to talk stuff about people negatively and stuff, like, she didn't want it. If you're going to come in and you were going to say, like, really hurtful things about somebody or whatever, you needed to take it outside and you need to leave it. And that didn't just apply to me. That applied to, like, anybody. Like, there were a couple times that, you know, she would have people over for like dinner or a party or whatever, and somebody would use a word or something that my mom thought was, like, not profanity, but, you know, like if somebody said an F-bomb, it's not like she's gonna kick them out of her house. But if they were like saying something that she thought was really insensitive, she'd say, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're allowed to have your opinion, but not in my house. Like, you're gonna need to take that out of here, you know? My mom didn't have a problem with that, saying that kind of stuff. I respect that now, you know? I think it's hard to say to your friends sometimes, like, have you ever had a friend that says something that's really insensitive? And you're kind of like, you know? I've had a couple friends of mine that have said some really insensitive things. Like, not necessarily like gay jokes, like, you know, haha, like, you know, gay jokes, but like, they've made insensitive statements, and I don't think they think much about it, you know? But like, it's usually been like husbands of friends of mine, or if we're friends with a couple or whatever. Although I have to say, like, the majority of, you know, 90% of our friends are, you know, heterosexual couples, and like, our guy friends have no issue with us being gay whatsoever, you know? But I think that they're so comfortable with their own sexuality that it's just not an issue. But there's been a couple situations, I feel like it hasn't happened in years though, honestly, where somebody will say something kind of insensitive, you know? Or like, they'll make a joke, like if we have a waiter that was like real effeminate or something, they'll say something, and I'm like, you know, if you think that of them, then do you think that of us? You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. I remember watching an Ellen DeGeneres like comedy show one time, and she was talking about like somebody laughing at her and making fun of her, and she said, yeah, but I'm not joking. And then the person said, I'm just joking, and she said, yeah, but I'm not laughing. Like, you know, I'm glad that you think your joke is funny, but like, it's not funny to me because I'm the person that you're talking about, you know? And it's insensitive. And I don't know. I was also raised in a home of a lot of sarcasm. My dad is a really funny guy. You know, my dad is somebody that is really, really highly respected, but what people always say about my dad is, your dad is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he is so funny. So funny. But the thing is, when I was growing up, my dad, you know, he would tell these hilarious stories. Like, his stories really are funny in the way that he tells. I mean, if I have any humor whatsoever, you know, people say to me, like, you're funny, which I love that. People are like, you should be a stand-up comedian. I think to be a stand-up comedian, I always think of that movie Punchline back in the day with Sally Field and Tom Hanks. If you ever saw that movie, it showed like how hard stand-up comedians have to work and stuff. It's such a great movie. It's kind of really sad at the end too. Have you ever seen it, Punchline? It's such a great movie, but I think that would be one of the toughest jobs in the world, you know, would be to be a stand-up comedian. I mean, what if you get up there and all your jokes just fall flat, or you have a hard audience or whatever, you know? think it's easy to make people laugh that like you anyway, because they kind of know you, they know your sense of humor. But I think when it's somebody that has no clue about you, it's, you know what I mean? And, but anyway, you know, my dad is just a really, really funny guy. Like I said, if I have any kind of sense of humor whatsoever, it's because I got it from him. And, but the thing is that my dad, you know, like, his humor and my humor are very different. And when I was growing up, he would tell these hilarious stories, and they would always be very funny and whatever. But they would either be about me or my stepmom or my mom or his brothers and sisters. They were always like funny stories about, not him necessarily, but funny stories about people around him. Now, I will tell you that my dad has absolutely no problem poking fun at himself too, and, you know, making jokes about himself. Like, he has no problem doing that. Like, he's the first person to laugh at himself about something stupid that he does. But it was hard, you know. There were times that, like, my dad would tell a story about something that I remember, okay, like this one time we went to, he still tells this story, we went to St. Martin for a vacation. When I was growing up, we took very, very nice vacations. It's one of the, I feel very grateful, you know, that my dad was able to take me on these incredible vacations, but they were long vacations, because for my dad to take time off, you know, like, first of all, my dad was always on call. Second of all, he had surgery. So for him to take time off, he had to take like 2 weeks off at a time. So if we went on vacation, we would go somewhere for like 2 weeks, which was awesome for me. You know, to be a kid, 2 weeks on an island in the Caribbean. I mean, come on. And we would rent like a place. So we would like either stay, you know, like at a hotel, like, or a resort that had like little, like, you know, houses on the side too. And we would stay in like one of the houses, or we would like rent a house. So it was like we kind of lived there for a while. But I remember we went to St. Martin. We went there more than once, but my dad loves St. Martin and St. Bart's. But we went to St. Martin, and our luggage didn't get there. We actually didn't get any of our luggage, I think, until we got back. And so we had to go shopping in the town there, which is Marigot. And that's like one of the places that I went a couple times when I was growing up, was St. Martin, that I kind of knew. I liked it a lot. I mean, it's beautiful. I would love to go back there. Alex and I have looked at it a couple times. It's really expensive. Today, it's really expensive. I don't know what it was back then. It was very, like, there weren't a lot of people that went there when we went. But, you know, I was an effeminate junior high kid. I put Sun-In in my hair. I always had that Sun-In, that bottle of Sun-In stuff, you know, and I dressed flamboyantly, and, you know, I always wore, people made fun of me for dressing really nice, because I didn't wear jeans until high school. Like, in junior high, I always wore, like, khakis or cords or pants or whatever. I always looked nice, you know, and I liked fashion. And in junior high, was reading, like, Vogue magazine, because I wanted to be a fashion designer, you know? And I was looking through all the magazines and stuff like that. And if we were at the airport going on vacation somewhere, I got, like, Vogue and all that kind of Vanity Fair. I mean, I got all those magazines. Interview magazine, I loved Interview magazine when I was growing up. And there was actually this magazine from London. I can't remember what it was called, but the back, like, oh, if somebody knows what this is called, let me know. I think it's discontinued now, but it was a really cool magazine, and it always had a lot of stuff about, you know, like, London art and London fashion in it. But, like, the last, like, 5 or 10 pages were all, like, streetwear. It would be, like, people that were just out at bars, and they would take their picture and put it in the back there. And I got a lot of ideas and inspiration from that. So, you know, like, in 87, when, you know, 25-year-olds in London were wearing, like, button-down collared shirts buttoned all the way up, out of their jeans, with, like, you know, straight leg Levi's rolled up with, like, big Doc Martens, that's what I was wearing. Well, that looks obscure to somebody, you know, that's 14 or 15. Like, that wasn't what people in my area wore. But that's what I wore. And then people would say, oh, you always dress so nice, or you dress so different, or whatever. And I always kind of liked different stuff. So we were on this trip, and our luggage didn't get there. It was very much like that, what's that movie called? A National Lampoon's Vacation. And so we had to go into town, and we had to buy clothes. Like, we had to buy clothes for the whole week. And I bought this outfit. This one outfit was like a polo shirt, but, like, it was cloth material, and it had, like, pineapples on it or something, and I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I was like, I could imagine myself, like, standing on the beach in it, and it had, like, matching pants, right? It was like, was like a linen cotton kind of material, and it's like this matching outfit. And, you know, my dad let me get it. He was like, yeah, whatever you want. I got that, and I got some other stuff, you know. I swear to God, okay, so if I was probably 12 at the time that happened, you know, I don't know, 14 maybe, you know, in all of that time, he continues to tell the story about that outfit. Oh my God, Peter got this outfit, and, you know, and it looked like it was made from these curtains that nobody would want in their house, and blah, blah, blah. It looked like some 80-year-old in Boca Raton had, and he had to have this outfit, and he wore it that whole, I mean, I just, you know, and so it was always like that kind of stuff. And, you know, later, when I was like in high school, like late high school, I said to my dad one time, I said, you know, Dad, sometimes your stories that you tell, like, I can remember he and I and my stepmom were sitting there, we had ordered pizza from this place called TD Alibis. I don't know how I remember this, but we were sitting in the kitchen, and I said to my dad, I said, you know, Dad, sometimes the stories that you tell are kind of hurtful because, like, you know, you're telling them about us. And he was like, really? And my stepmom was like, yeah. She was like, sometimes, you know, some of the stories are funny and we can laugh at them too, but she was like, you know, sometimes it's kind of hurtful. My dad was like, I never thought about it that way. But he still tells the joke. He still thinks it's funny. But my dad will tell stupid jokes about himself too, like stupid things that he's done, you know. My dad, because I asked my dad to speak at my mom's funeral, and my friend whose mom had passed away the year before, she had had her stepdad, who was her mom's ex-husband, speak at her mom's funeral because she wanted somebody to speak of what her mom was like at that time. And so I thought it would be really cool for the people that, like, because a lot of my mom's friends were my dad's friends too, so I thought it'd be really cool for the people that were there from, like, college and stuff like that, that knew my dad through the years, that, like, you know, he would get up there and talk about my mom in, like, a funny way, because my dad is so funny, right? Like, I knew he would do something funny, that he could do it in, like, a funny way and tell stories of, like, who she was back in the day. And so he, like, wrote out this thing that he was gonna say, and my dad is such a fantastic speaker anyway. If you haven't heard me talk about what he said at my uncle's funeral, I'll tell you in just a second, but my dad and I both always get asked to speak at funerals. My dad gets asked to speak at funerals, and I get asked to speak at funerals. I don't know what that's about, but we both do a lot. So, I actually do know what it is about. I think that we both really personalize our experience of having had that person in our lives. You know, we don't just get up and say, like, I really miss this person or whatever, but I think we really personalize those experiences, and just really tell it from the heart. And I'll tell you what my dad said about my uncle in a second, but my mom's brother-in-law, my Uncle Dave, that just Caroline's dad that passed last year. But I went over to his house, and Alex and I, oh no, that was before Alex. Who went over there with me? Oh, it was my friend. So I have a friend of mine that has been in my life since we went on the one date, and then we decided we were gonna be friends after that. He's been like my best guy friend for like 20 some years. Anyway, well, I met him before I got sober, so 25 years. We went over there, and we were sitting there, and, like, you know, I said to my dad, I said, so what are you gonna say at mom's funeral? And he had like this list of what he was gonna say and stuff like that. And it was kind of like, the jokes could have been taken as not so funny, you know what I mean? And I said, I don't know, Dad. I said, I think maybe a different way. And he was like, well, what do you want me to do? He was like, I thought you wanted me to tell, like, you know, funny jokes about your mom, or like what she was like at that time that was funny. I was like, yeah. I go, but I don't know, like, there was just, you know. So anyway, he goes, okay. And so he goes, do you want me to run it by you first, or do you trust me? And I said, oh, no, I trust you. And my dad got up and at my mom's funeral, and he told this story about when they were in Chicago. And she was actually, this was the time that she was working at this Orthodox Hebrew school she was a teacher at, called Beis Yaakov. And she had gotten, this was before I was born, she had gotten all these parking tickets, right? And so she had to go to court for these parking tickets. And so she took time off work and everything to go to court. And my dad went with her, and okay, so my mother was very vocal. She was very opinionated, and obviously that's right. And I get that from her, you know. And oh my God, Judy Tanya is calling me. So anyway, she went to court. My dad and her went to court in Chicago, you know, downtown Chicago, and their case comes up, and my dad said it's like all these hardcore cases, right? And like my mom's parking ticket case is like nothing next to like some of these hardcore cases. And so the judge is like real nice to my mom, and he's like, okay, you know, like if you pay this, can you pay this fine today? And she's like, yeah, I can pay it. And he's like, okay, so if you pay it today, I'm just gonna let you off. And she's like, what? And he's like, I mean, if you go pay the fines, I'll just erase the fines and they'll take them off your record and, you know, whatever. Like, I appreciate you coming in here, and a lot of people don't, whatever. And my mom goes, I don't understand. Or something like this. And he was like, if you go and you pay for the parking tickets today, he was like, I won't leave them on your record. I'll take them off your record, you know, whatever. And then, you know, whatever. And she goes, oh, no. She was like, I have been here, or I took today off from work. I'm missing work to come in here today. My husband is missing work to come in here today. I want my time in court. I want to be heard. And apparently my mother had to be silenced, or if she didn't, the judge was like, if you're gonna be taken out of here, if you do not hold your, my dad is like, shut up. He's giving you the deal of a lifetime. Shut up. And my mother was like, I have a few things to say about the parking system in Chicago, because my mother, of course, was going to take this, you know, as her moment to like speak about the parking ticket situation in Chicago. That's what she wanted, you know. But then my dad turned it into this whole thing, and he said, you know, he went into talking about how, oh, I'm going to get emotional tonight. I did not think I was going to get emotional in this vlog. I never know what I'm going to talk about in the vlog. But, I'm crossing the bridge where my dad lives out here. But there's like some houses out here that are absolutely incredible on the water. Beautiful. Kind of feels like being in another city sometimes. But anyway, then he went into this whole thing. He told a couple funny stories, and he said, you know, he was like, what we think is funny was to her very difficult, and she really struggled sometimes, you know, in wanting to be heard and understood. And that was like really, to my mom, like she just really wanted to be heard, you know? She wanted to be validated, and she wanted to be heard. She didn't feel like people took her seriously. Even like my aunt sometimes, you know, she'd say, nobody takes me seriously. Nobody thinks, you know, I just want to be taken seriously. I just want to be heard, you know? And, so he said all that, and then he said, you know, but he was like, even though our marriage didn't make it, he was like, you know, one really great thing came out of that, and that was Peter. And he went in and talked about my mom and how much she loved me and all this kind of stuff. It was really nice. But at my uncle's funeral, all these people got up and spoke, and then my dad was like the last one. And you never know, like my dad, so for my uncle's 70th birthday, they had a roast, this really nice sit-down dinner, and then they did like a roast. And my mom was going to that. Was it my uncle's 60th birthday? 60th? No, I'm pretty sure it was his 70th. They did this roast. Anyway, my ex went with me, and that's why I'm trying to, like, in my head, figure out the dates, because I can see us in the pictures. It was at this country club here that's, like, fantastic, and it was just really nice, but my uncle got to ask certain people to speak, and one of the people that he wanted to speak was my dad. But my dad, because my dad and my uncle were really close, because, you know, for a long time it was my Aunt Kathy, my Uncle Dave, my mom, and my dad. They were like, you know, the four couple, the two couples that, like, they just did everything together. And it was actually at the end, and I didn't know that. I'm hoping this battery makes it, you guys. Like, I was charging it before I left, and it wasn't completely charged yet when I left, so I put the other battery in the charger, and if I have to run home, I can get it. But my dad actually proposed to my mom. Did he propose to her, or did he? Oh no, he announced their engagement at my aunt and uncle's reception. Like, in his toast, he announced it. So anyway, like, they had just gotten engaged right before my aunt and uncle got married. Do you know what? I don't even know how my dad proposed to my mom. That's weird. I know, like, everything else. I'm just thinking, like, do I know? And I've forgotten. I feel like I should, but I don't. But anyway, so, but you never know, like, what's going to happen. Like, you could get up, and it could be my dad could just do this very endearing you know, speech, or it could be just like he slays you with humor, and it's just like kind of like really unbelievable humor, you know. And so my dad wrote this thing, but like so that my dad just knew it would be uncomfortable for him if he went with my mom or being there, and so he wanted my mom to enjoy the evening. So he was like, but my mom always thought my dad was funny. My mom was like, your dad is one of the funniest people, if not the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life. And so, I mean, she wouldn't have cared that he went, but like my dad was just like, no, I'm not going to go there. This is her moment. This is, you know, her sister and brother-in-law. I'm not going to go. So he asked Caroline, my cousin Caroline, if she would read what he wrote. He really kind of set her up because it was hilarious. And I can remember the room, because like my uncle and my dad were so close. The room was literally silent when Caroline was reading this. I mean, my dad went in. He went in and talked about how like my Aunt Kathy would have like countless dinner parties, and my uncle could so not be bothered that he would just get up in the middle of it and go take a nap and stuff like that. He just let that. I mean, it was so funny. The room was, Caroline was reading it, and you could tell she was so uncomfortable reading it, even though she loves my dad, but she was so uncomfortable reading it, and it was so funny. It was so funny, but the room was absolute silence, except for my Uncle Dave. He was howling in laughter because he knows my dad and he appreciates his humor, you know? So it was so funny, but I don't know. We can't just, like, we can't have the same kind of sense of humor that we, you know, had 10 or 15 years ago. My dad is so funny, though. So at my uncle's funeral, like, we, you know, didn't know what was going to happen when he got up and he spoke. And, I mean, it could have been very serious. It could have been very funny. Nobody knew, you know? I've told this story on here maybe 2 or 3 times before, so if you've heard it before, this is gonna be boring for you, but I'm gonna share it again for those that haven't heard it. So my dad got up at my uncle's funeral, and he shared about how, like, so my uncle he was a long-term heart patient, and at the end, it just was really bad. I was in hospice and stuff, and so they, like, literally had said, like, he's not gonna have much. He was like, he would tell everybody he was ready to go. He just like was like, I just can't go do the hospital. I can't continue to do this. He was in the hospital literally like every week, every other week, something like that, for like the last 6 months that he was alive. Last 2 years probably that he was alive. And if he was there, that meant Caroline was there. And then, you know, my aunt was sick at the same time before my uncle died. And so it was like they were in and out of the hospital. It was just really sad. So anyway, my dad went over there a couple days before my uncle passed away, and my uncle is a Scotch drinker, and so he bought like a really nice bottle of Scotch. And this is the story that he told in this funeral. I can already see myself getting emotional, but this is the story that he told at the funeral. But he went over there, and Caroline's like, he's in his bedroom. So my cousin, when my aunt passed away, they sold my aunt and uncle's condo, and they moved my uncle in, and like where her dining room had been in this little sitting area, she had turned it into like a private bedroom for him with like a Jack and Jill bathroom. And so he had like a little sitting area, and he could close it off and just have his, it was like on the first floor. And so he moved in with them. They hired a contractor and redid the whole first floor. It's really kind of a cool setup. So anyway, my dad went over there, and Caroline was like, he's in his bedroom, you can go visit him. So he went in there, and they were sitting there. My dad was kind of like sitting in this chair talking to him, you know. My uncle was not somebody that was like real emotional or real affectionate, like not a big hugger and stuff like that. And so he's standing there, my dad and him were like talking, telling old stories and laughing and stuff like that. And my dad said to him, he said, you know, I brought this really great bottle of Scotch. He bought him like some ridiculous expensive Scotch because he knew that he liked good Scotch. And he said, you know, why don't I go in there and, you know, pour us each a glass and we can have Scotch, you know? And my uncle said, it was in the afternoon. He goes, no, he goes, I don't, you know, start having a drink, you know, maybe till like 6 or 7 or something like that. I can't remember what he said, but anyway, 5, I think. And my dad laughed and was like, Dave, it's not like you're on any kind of like time limit, you know, like, why are you like, He goes, well, it's you know, it's this tradition or it's this ritual that I stuck to. I don't drink until a certain hour, and then I allow myself to have like 1 or 2 drinks, and that's it, you know. He was very structured, my uncle. And he goes, but you take it. He goes, because I won't drink it anyway. And he goes, why not? Now, my aunt was a scotch drinker too, and she loved expensive scotch, and she drank expensive scotch. And my uncle said, Kathy drinks expensive scotch, so I always had to drink the cheaper scotch. And he goes, so you take it, because I won't drink it, because I'm used to cheap scotch. And my dad just laughed. And so then my dad was getting ready to go. I just don't know how you have a conversation. I say this every time I talk about it in a video, but I just do not know how you have a conversation with somebody like this, you know? Like, my mom was comatose when I said goodbye, so she didn't really say anything back, you know? But my dad went over, you know, he's not a hugger, so he went over and he sat down on the edge of the bed. I think he said he did hug him or something. I can't remember, but my uncle looked at him and he goes, he said, we're probably never going to see each other again, are we? My dad is just like such a realist about everything. And he looked at him and he said, no, we probably aren't. But I want you to know how much you meant to me in my life. I don't know how you say goodbye to people like that, you know? You know, I was raised by my mom and dad and my aunt and uncle and friends of my parents, and I was raised by people that had some really fucked up problems in their lives and issues and stuff, you know. But that being said, all of those people were just fantastic human beings. I feel so blessed to have been raised by the people that I was, that know the importance of life and the importance of people and the importance of experiences, you know. They didn't take their lives for granted. I feel so blessed for that. You know, I feel for Caroline a lot because, I mean, she doesn't have any family left besides her husband, you know, and her son, and me, and Alex. Her parents are gone, her history is gone, and I think about that sometimes, and I think, God, I get so caught up with the stuff with my mom, you know, but it's like, what about Caroline? I have a friend of mine whose mom just recently passed away, and her dad is gone, and her brother's gone, and just her and her sister, and she said, I feel truly orphaned. She said, I can't even explain how I feel, you know? And I think that's got to be really, really hard. I don't know how I'm going to feel when my dad is gone, you know? It's like, the thing is, for so long, my dad was this guy that, like, any issue in my life I always went to, and I'd be like, okay, what do I do about this? Or what do I do about that, you know? But that really hasn't been the case in the last 10 years or so. You know, I've really kind of started to figure things out on my own, and because Because I can remember there was a, you know, in my 20s, I was scared. I was like, if my dad, like something happened to my dad, like who would I go to about like how to even, like I'm talking about everything from how to do this, I mean, just anything, you know, like who do you talk to? What do you do? Like, where do you go? Where do you take your car? If something needs, you know, if you need to get an oil change or whatever, you know, it's like, I feel like everything that most things I need to do now, I know how to do them, you know, and I don't call him for things like that. And our relationship has changed. It's nice, you know. It's not like this real dependent relationship that I had on him growing up, you know. It's like we're just kind of like two men that are able to have this like really nice relationship today. And I appreciate that, you know, and I'm thankful for that. I always, whenever I tell that story and I get real emotional, I always think to myself, like, am I emotional because my uncle's gone? Am I emotional because my dad went through that? And I think that I'm gonna have to go through that with my dad, you know, sometime. In my dad's siblings, first of all, my dad's oldest brother, my grandma passed away when she was 93. My dad's oldest brother passed away, I think he was 93 or 94. All of his other siblings are still alive. My dad is the youngest, you know, and he is 79. So, my dad is going to live he's going to be around for a while, which I'm happy for, you know. My dad at 79, like, looks and acts like he's 65, if not 60. And, it's kind of like, he's just weirdly healthy, so, he has very good genes. And, you know, even my grandfather, who was like extremely unhealthy and ate a lot and was overweight and stuff like that. He wasn't like grossly overweight, but he was overweight. He had a massive heart attack, real healthy up until that massive heart attack, and died at 74. And, but he was like the youngest of all of them, you know, like my dad's sister is, I think she's like 5 years older than my dad, which means she's like 84. And then his next sister after that, I think has gotta be like 88, and then like 90 probably. So they're all like real active. Like none of them are in nursing homes. None of them, they all live at home. They all do things. My dad's oldest sister, second oldest sister, she, like, her kids live all over the country, and she goes and stays with one for like a month, flies and stays with another. I mean, she's real active. I don't know why it makes me sad when I tell that story. I don't know if, like, I always think of Tanya when I tell that story. Like, how would I ever have that conversation with Tanya, you know? Like, I used to have this fear. I don't really have this anymore, but what's really weird is that I had it last night. I was laying in bed when I was going to sleep. Well, first of all, I wanted to talk about this book, okay? So I'm reading this book, The Chain, and you guys, I got up from vlogging last night and ended up listening to like another 2 hours of it. This book is probably the best thriller, one of the best thrillers, if not the best thriller I have ever listened to, and definitely hands down the best thriller I've listened to this year. The Chain by Adrienne McKenty. I'm going to talk about it in just a second. But I don't know why, because there wasn't really anything directly about this in the book. But I got into bed last night and I kept on thinking about like this all being over, like life being over, you know, and there being nothing afterwards. And what if this is just it? And I used to be so horribly scared of dying, like really, really scared of dying. And I don't know if I just don't think about it much anymore. I don't know if it's having gone through several deaths that I just realized that death is part of life. I don't know if I've realized there's just not really anything you can do about it, so I focus on it. I don't know, but like last night in bed, before I was going to bed, I mean, it was bad to the point, you guys, back in the day, that I couldn't go to sleep and stuff at night. Like, I just literally would think, like, well, what if this is it forever and ever and ever? And, like, I'm scared and I don't know what it looks like. And that was when I was reading a lot of, like, books about near-death experiences and stuff, because I just wanted any kind of validation that there was something after this life, you know? But I was thinking about this last night because I haven't had that fear in a long time, and I just started, like, I feel like I heard the train or something, but I don't see it. I felt like I kind of like started cycling in my head about like, oh my God, like, you know, what if I'm not going to be here for much longer, and, you know, like, I don't have, like, even if I live to be 70, you know, like, that's, you know, not that far away, and all this kind of stuff. It's just, I don't know, it's weird as you get older when you think about that stuff. But I don't know, like, I've actually had a couple conversations like that with Susie, you know. I haven't really with my dad. I don't know why, but I haven't. But with Susie, we've talked about it, you know, and she'll say, like, it's hard when everybody that you knew is gone, you know? It's really hard. Like, everybody that you knew is gone. They've all, you know, passed on, and they're all, like, you know, they've all passed on. They're gone, you know? And she's like, you know, and then you kind of know you're next. Like, that's what's kind of scary about it. And Susie's super healthy too, you know? So I don't know. But I was getting kind of freaked out about that last night in bed. And I don't know why. Like, I hadn't thought about that in a while. I think that's old kind of like chaos thinking for me. And when things are going really good in my life and things are pleasant and, you know, calm and serene, it's like I so bad want to like go back and bring that chaos over here. And I'm so resistant to it today. I'm like, nope, I don't want it. I don't want that chaos in my life. And I think one way for me to think about it is like bringing that like kind of like that those anxious thoughts of things that I can't control, like death, right? Like, there's no reason for me to sit there and like focus on that and stuff like that, because I can't do anything about it, and I know that. I just don't like endings. I never have. I actually had, and I know this, if you believe in this stuff, it'll mean something to you. If you don't, then just take what you like and leave the rest, as somebody said to me in early sobriety when I was looking at a higher power kind of thing. But, or coming up with a higher power. And I said, oh, this is all about God. And she said, is that what you hear? She goes, baby, take what you like and leave the rest. I really needed to hear that too. But, you know, I had a psychic say to me one time, this is your last life cycle. And I said, what? And she goes, we come here many times to learn different things. We, you know, get together with a soul group, and our soul guide, helps us like come up with things that we're going to learn this time while we're here. And so there's basically like, and what's her face? Sylvia Brown talked about this too, but we found out she was a fake, but I don't know how much of a fake she was. But anyway, when she wrote this in her book, The Other Side and Back, it really resonated with me when she talked about we make a blueprint for our lives of things that we want to, you know, learn while we're here. So the fact that like I'm, you know, an alcoholic and an addict in recovery, and that my mom was in recovery, and like that I grew up in an alcoholic home and things like that, that was all decided upon before I ever even moved here, before I was ever even born, you know, that I like specifically decided as a soul, these things I wanted to learn while I was here, you know, and each life cycle we go into it wanting to learn different things. And, I can't think of his name, but the guy that wrote Many Lives, Many Masters, Brian Weiss, he talks about that too. As like you repeat life cycles to learn new things. And I had this psychic look at me one time, and she said, this is your last life cycle. And I said, what? And she goes, this is your last life cycle. And she was like, do you have a hard time with endings? Like, she's like an ending of a TV show and things like that. I said, oh my God, like I cannot listen to the end of a song. Like if a song gets towards the end, I repeat it or I move to the next one. I don't finish the song usually. And she's like, yeah, this is your last life cycle here. She was like, that's why. She goes, every time that something ends for you. And you know, when I look back on my life, like when I finished elementary school, like I bawled my way home that last day of 5th grade, you know, and junior high was the same way, even though I hated these experiences, you know. And like when I did like hockey, I've told that story on here before, you know, I hated playing hockey. And then I went to the, what do you call it? The hockey banquet. And our team was called the North Stars. And on the way home, I started crying. And my mom goes, what's wrong, sweetie? And I said, I'll never see my North Stars again. And it's always been like that in my life. Like I get very, very sad about closure and goodbyes and endings and things like that. You know, so it's kind of weird for me to think that way. It's like, I wonder, have I like been here so many times and this is like my last time here on Earth, you know? And then I think, you know, like this is going to sound really bizarre, but I think about this, whether this is my last life cycle or not, because it's not like we're aware of it, right? But I think about this too. It's like, I sometimes, oh, look at this, books, read, reuse, recycle. I love that. gonna have to come here and donate some books. But I think I think about this, and I don't think most people think about this as much as we probably should. But when you think about the brevity and the fragility of life and how short life is, shouldn't we be doing those things that make us the happiest? Shouldn't we be doing those things that just really make us feel connected to people and experiences? And when we look back at the end of our lives, we're like, yeah, I really lived a life, you know? And I think there are a lot of people out there that are really, really just taking, you know, life by the gusto. But I think sometimes I don't, you know? And that doesn't mean I have to climb the biggest mountain and sing the biggest song. I mean, that doesn't mean that, you know? That was stupid. But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that. It means that I can, like, what would make me the happiest, you know? Is it that I want my house to look a certain way, or is it that I want to have this garden that I've always wanted to garden certain, you know, pumpkins or sunflowers or something like that, because I wanted to do that in the past and have done pumpkins. But did we do sunflowers? We did do sunflowers one time. But you know what I mean? Like, it can be anything. It doesn't, you know, or if I want to learn a certain hobby, but like, do it now, because we're not going to be here forever, you know? And I think that's what I was thinking last night. It's like, what do I want to do that is vital to me? Like, what are the things that I need to start doing, like bucket list kind of things? The problem is I don't have a lot of bucket list stuff because I feel like I have a very blessed life. There's just not a lot that I want to do. There's definitely places that I want to go. There's definitely places that I want to travel to, you know, but I don't know. Two of our friends and their kids are going to Paris for Thanksgiving. They were telling us about it last night. They found the trip on, I was going to pull through here and I didn't. Oh well. They found the trip on, I wanted to go back through there because that's my gym, but a different gym, and I wanted to see like how packed it is on a Sunday evening at this time. They found it, it's like called Vacay Away or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like they notify them of like the cheapest flights, but then you have to like go on the days that they find and whatever. And so they found, so it's two couples and each of them are taking in two kids. And so, oh no. It's one couple's taking two kids, the other couple's taking one, their daughter. Their son is going to Thailand to go scuba diving with his uncle. Not a bad life, right? But anyway, at like 18, talk about a dream trip, right? I'd love to go do that now at 47. And I've never, you know, been to some of these places. But anyway, so my friend was telling me that you pay it like, it's like $25 a year or something to join this. And does anybody know what I'm talking about? Oh, it's gonna stop, hold on. Okay, does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's called like Vacay Away or something like that. I can't remember. But it's basically like a travel trip, a travel club, I think. And then they find like these flights for you that are a certain like rate. And then they're like the lowest they've seen in like a long time. So they found these ones to Paris, round trip, that are super cheap. And they're like on certain, it's like 7 days. And then they found an Airbnb in Paris that's like super cheap as well, but like really nice. And then the other couple, like, they bought the tickets too, and then they got an Airbnb like 6 blocks from there. So they're real excited about that. I was like, yeah, I think that's really cool. Like, maybe Alex and I could join something like that and then, you know, start traveling some really different places. There's really not that many people in there. I thought there'd be more people than that. I kind of need to find some good times to go to the gym. I don't like to go when there's a ton of people. Why is that closed off like that right there? You can't, what is the deal there with that door? Door is like weird. It's like they did, I don't think it used to be like that. That's weird. They rearranged my whole gym. Like when I went in there this week, they like redid everything. And now like the part where I do my training is like right out in the middle by all of the like the machines and like the doing stuff. And I'm just like, I am not so down with that. I told my trainer, I said, I don't love that. What is with the, oh, they're like blinds they have pulled down. Oh, that's interesting. But what are they? Is that the gym? Or is it? Yeah, they have the blinds turned down. You can't see in there in certain areas, okay. But anyway, I told my trainer, I said, I don't like this. And she goes, why not? And I said, I just don't like it. I said, when I like to work out, I said, I'm so like intimidated by working out anyway. I don't like to be out here like I'm on show. And she goes, nobody's looking at you. And I said, then why move it? And she said, well, we moved it because we're putting these, you know, carpets in all the gyms and whatever. And we just think it gets you more like, you know, in tune to what's going on and all this kind of stuff. I was like, uh-huh. I just don't like being out center stage for everybody to be looking at me while I'm working with a trainer. I'm already intimidated enough, like, you know, about my weight and that I don't look great and stuff like that. But whatever. I still did it. That house is all decorated for Halloween. I said that the last time I went by it. I think also, like, and I hate saying this because this makes me sad, but I think, like, when PP's not here anymore, we'll probably travel more. You know, his health just really scares me. I don't like going away for long periods of time. You know, if we go to Florida or Las Vegas or somewhere, you know, San Diego, and I have to come home because he gets sick, like, that's literally, we can get home in 4 or 5 hours, book a flight and be right there and come back. But, like, to go to like the Maldives, like I would love to go to the Maldives, or to go to like Thailand. You know, we really want to, I want to do that for like my 50th, or to do like, or I want to do like Bora Bora or something like that for my 50th. To do like one of those trips, I mean, I don't know what I would do if I was in Bora Bora and I got a call on day 2 that like they had to take PP to the vet. You know, like I don't know what I would do. Like, first of all, my trip would be ruined. But I wouldn't want to pay to come back after I'd saved the money to go. So I'm just like not, like I always say that to Alex, like I would like to wait, you know, with the dogs. And he was like, well, we can't like, you know, wait forever, you know, like whatever. I'm like, well, it's also part of deciding to have dogs. I mean, dogs are like kids, you know. Now, if the dogs were like younger, if they were like 3 and 4 or whatever, yeah, I would go. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Not that something couldn't happen to them when they were 3 or 4. It's just like, you know, PP's health is just... I mean, the reality is, and I don't talk about this a lot, but the vet, she even lied to me when I went in there the first time because she felt so bad that I was so emotional about it. But, you know, she said, I'd like to see him make it to 13 and a half. Well, 13 and a half is right now. Like, that's October of this year. So, you know, and she didn't think he was going to make it past 6 months. So the dog has made it a year longer than she thought he would make it. And is doing fine. I mean, I left, and he, Boo, and Tucker were all in Alex's lap watching The Real Housewives of Orange County, you know? He's ran around in the backyard all day today, you know? He's doing okay. Is he slower? Is he older? Sure, you know? But he's doing okay. I just can't really believe it, honestly. But it does make me appreciate each and every moment. Like, every night when I go to bed, I always, like, well, I give each dog, like, their little moment. I know it's probably corny, but I don't care. You know, I always go down to Pee-Pee and I rub his ears, and I'm always like, I love you, buddy. You're my best friend in the whole world. And, you know, I'm so happy we had a good day. And then I tell him, you know, tomorrow we're going to have so much fun, and we're going to run around. You can run around in the yard, and you can have as many treats as you want. You're going to have a good dinner and all that kind of stuff. And I always say that to him. And then I go to Boo and Tucker, and I say nice things to them too, sweet things. And, you know, it does make me appreciate each and every day that I have with the dogs more, but God knows when that moment will come, and then, you know, like, I can put off going on a trip for a year. I don't need to do that. Plus, we've traveled more, like, in the last year, and we've got, like, so many trips coming up. In the next year, you know, we've got like longer trips, you know. We've got I'd like to go to San Diego again and visit Jesse and Fufu. I was actually kind of looking at New Year's. I thought that might be kind of fun to go out there and hang out with them for New Year's, because we always say we're going to go away and do something for New Year's, and we never do. But But if the trip to go to San Diego would be the same cost as to go somewhere on the beach, I would rather be on the beach. But I think Alex likes to go out and do stuff on New Year's, so we'll probably just end up staying here. It's cheaper to stay here, you know, because we can still go out and have a fun time. It's like one time that all of our friends get together and do stuff. And then we have Miami in March, the end of March. And then I've got to figure if I'm going to go to Las Vegas or not. I really... For our birthdays this year, because we didn't take a birthday trip last year, we didn't take a birthday trip, did we? I'll say that, then 20 people will be like, did you forget that you went to, no, because in April, we went to Mexico right after we went to Miami, and that's what we did instead of isn't that what we did instead of our birthdays? I think so. Did we do something for our birthday this year? Anyway, I'm gonna feel like an idiot if we did, and I don't remember, but I just don't think we did. Okay, but I would really like to go to Grand Cayman or the Turks and Caicos. Those are like my two, or Anguilla. Those are like my dream places right now to go. Or I would also like Barbados and Curacao. The problem with Barbados and Curacao is that they're so far south, or Aruba, that to get there is like 8 hours. It's like a whole day. It's like half a day. And then you lose a day. Oh, we're also going to Dallas in February. One of Alex's friends, really like, he's been friends with her for 15 years, is getting married in February. So we are going to be in Dallas in February if you'd like me to do a little meet and greet. I've never been to Dallas before. I'm excited. I mean, I've flown through the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, but I've never been to Dallas before. I'm excited about it. So if you would like to me to do a little meet and greet in Dallas, maybe I'll make that like one of my very first meet and greets that I ever do. Oh my God. Who would come? Nobody. Find a Chinese buffet in Dallas. But yeah, so we're doing that. But I definitely want to take a birthday trip next year. In June, when our birthdays are, is a really good time to go like to the Caribbean because it's not super expensive. I don't want to go to the Dominican Republic. I would go to Mexico right now. I'm not so worried about Mexico, but I am not comfortable going to the Dominican Republic with all these crazy things that are happening right there. So, especially because my husband always wants to do these like off-site things, and you know what's scary is, I was reading this article that somebody sent me, because I talked about it in a vlog one night that I didn't really know about a lot about it, and so somebody sent me this article about what had happened, and it was like this couple or this woman, and they were like walking around the resort like late at night by themselves. Well, we always do that. Like Alex and I always do that. It's like they got like hauled off by these people, you know, and then they were taken and killed or something. I don't know, it's scary. But, yeah, the problem when I look at these trips like the Caribbean, a lot of them are really, really hard to get to, like to fly into. Like you have to fly out of like Miami or, where's the other place? Like Charlotte or something like that. And then you go from there, or Atlanta, and then you go from there to the other place. But it's like, you sit there, and there's certain days they fly, and there's certain days they don't to those places. So finding the flights on the certain days that do fly to those places, or the certain days that fly to those places for cheaper than other days, without having to leave. Like, and then the other thing is that a lot of them, like the flight, and this is so crazy to me, like the flights out of like, you know, Barbados is at like 7:15 a.m. Well, who's leaving at 7:15 a.m. Barbados? Like, that's a weird flight, unless you're flying to go to the United States to visit, right? Like, so it's not about people coming to Barbados, because like that means you would have to leave your airport or your hotel at like 4 a.m., which means your last day is completely screwed. I mean, we never fly out of someplace until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon minimum, because you don't want to ruin your last day. You can still, like, you know, use your last day, right? So why would you want to do that? It's stupid. So anyway, I don't know. We'll figure something out. We got a long time to figure that out. All right, you guys, I want to talk about this book that I started last night, or 2 nights ago, called The Chain. Well, I don't know when I started it, but I started a couple nights ago. So, first of all, I looked online because when I got home, I was so thrown out by this book. This book is, my friend, when I see her on Tuesday night, I am going to let her have it because she recommended this book to me, and this book has worn me out, okay? I literally, last night, I don't bite my nails, okay? I literally sat here last night in the car, and I was like this, and I, like, screwed up my thumbnail. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's not, I didn't bite it really at all. It's fine. But I sat here and, like, just like this the whole night. I mean, it was so unbelievably suspenseful. I need to tell you, I'm, like, talking out loud, which I'm sure is not hard for you to believe since I have a vlog, but I'm, like, talking out loud to the, like, book while it's the main character while it's happening. So when I got home, I looked because it seems so to me like a movie. I wanted to see if it was, like, had been, like, the rights have been, you know, bought for the movie or whatever, and they have been. Okay, so this guy, he is I guess he's, like, written and published a lot of books, but he never had, like, one take off. And then he, like, wrote to this author. I can't remember the author's name. It starts with Winslow or Willow or Winlow or something like that. But he's written, like, these suspense thrillers. And so he wrote to him and said something to him about, like, how he had inspired him, but, like, he was going to give up writing because he couldn't sell his book and all this kind of stuff. And he couldn't sell any of his books, and he gotten evicted from his apartment, and he was driving Uber for extra money and all this kind of stuff, and to support his wife and 2 kids. This guy's, like, from Belfast, and he's, like, from a really poor family. The story about him is really neat. This isn't about the book, this is about the author. His story is really neat. Well, this author, like, teamed up with him, or teamed up with this, like, agent or movie rights guy and, like, they called him, and he, like, wouldn't take their call at first when they called, and so, like, they both called him at the same time, and they were like, you can't give up on writing, like, you have to keep on going. They so believed in him, and the book that came out of that was The Chain. It's the book that I'm reading right now. They sold the book before it even came out to be published. I cannot believe, first of all, this is what I'm talking about when I get frustrated with marketing and PR at places like Barnes & Noble, okay? I'm telling you right now, this is the best thriller I have read, and I cannot even tell you how long. It's better than The Woman in the Window, which I loved. It's better than Behind Your Eyes, which I loved. It's better than I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman Was Obsessed with Search for the Golden State Killer by Michelle McNamara. It's better than that. I'm telling you guys, this book you cannot put down. Literally, from the word go, right out of the gate, it is unbelievable. And it is like 9:15 a.m. to 9:22 a.m. And it starts off, you know, like, I don't know, 6 something in the morning. 6:23 a.m., you know, Thursday, 6:23 a.m. Thursday, 6:31 a.m. It's so you are, like, with them during real time, and it goes in and out of different characters. I'm telling you, it is unbelievable. It addresses addiction in there. It addresses, there's health concerns in there. It is so, like, everything you cannot believe. There was a moment last night when, like, this one thing is happening, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then, like, at the same time that happens, something else happens, and he, like, raises the stakes, and I'm like, oh my God. And then something else, and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. I mean, I literally was losing my mind, okay? The fact that you don't walk into every bookstore, the fact that you don't see this at every Target, at every Walmart, at everywhere, front and center as the best book right now is beyond me. It blows my mind that nobody is talking about this book. This book is unbelievable, and it came out this summer. I don't understand why people aren't talking about this book. So anyway, he sold the movie rights for $1 million. So it's coming out. They have, like, a trailer for the book and everything on this site that I found. Somebody is texting me, I don't know who. But anyway, this book is fantastic. So, if you want a really, really good thriller, go check it out. The Chain by Adrian McKenty. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. It is so scary, you guys. All right, listen, I'm going to get off here because I got to pull in here and see who's texting me, and I'm almost Tanya, so I'm going to call her and see if she wants to, here, I'm just going to pull, oh, I don't want to pull in there, that parking lot's empty, that's kind of scary. I'm going to call Tanya and see if she wants to, get a fountain pop, and I'll drive her over there to get a fountain pop so I can spend a couple minutes with her. I already got my fountain pop. Anyway, what is tomorrow? Monday? I hope you guys are having an amazing Monday, unless you have other plans. But like I always say, do not have other plans. Make the most of your day. Life is not a dress rehearsal. Enjoy your day today. Make the most of it. Do something fun. Do something exciting. You are exchanging a day of your life today. Life is not a dress rehearsal. Remember that. And pass that on to somebody else too. Let somebody else know that life is not a dress rehearsal. All these things I ever say are just things that I heard from somebody else and passed on, and just keep on passing that on, you know? And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day and you say to yourself, I love you, you are important, you are valuable, and that you do positive affirmations with yourself. I was actually doing mine today, and Alex goes, what are you doing? And I go, my positive affirmations about myself. He just laughed. So make sure, but I believe in it, and I believe in doing gratitude lists every single day. And I was just talking to a friend of mine last night, and she was like, oh, well, when I was doing my gratitude list the other day, and then I was telling somebody else, they were like, I need some help because I'm stressed out in the mornings. I was like, trust me, do a gratitude list, read a meditation, you'll be fine. So anyway, yeah. So if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Make sure that you pass it on to somebody else, or make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day and say, I love you, you're important, you're valuable, and that you believe it in your heart, and you believe it in your heart of hearts, and you believe it in your gut, and you believe it until you write it down, and you believe it until you believe it. You tell yourself it until you believe it. And then one day you wake up and you're like, I really truly do love myself enough to care, you know? I really truly do love myself to treat myself well, and I deserve that. Anyway, and then also start your day off with gratitude list and whatever else you want to do. And a cold glass of water like I do. And most importantly, make sure that you pass it on to somebody else and let them know how important they are to you. Live in the world a little kinder, live in the world a little bit more compassionately. Let's live in the world with a little bit more love. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya!